Welcome to Say You Want to Compete TV Episode 7 with our hosts, Corey, and myself, Stacia from Strength and Grace Promotions, and Victoria from Fit and Furious. You can always go watch previous episodes on our YouTube channel or via SoYouWantToCompete.com. You can check it out. It's where all our new competitors go. As Tony was saying to us all earlier, most of our shows end up with about 75% of true novice competitors. So this is for you guys. This is to ask your questions. Tune in for certain posing technique times. Like today, we are covering all things classic physique with George Peterson III and our guest Joseph, another IFBB pro, with support here from Corey asking them questions. And we're going to try not to kill Joseph with posing today too much.
Sounds good.
So how this works today, Corey's going to be running our episode with our guests. Victoria's keeping us on time and managing all the cool swag our sponsors have donated today. It's a surprise for me too, because I haven't been paying attention. I've been taking care of technology this week. So you do have to be on the Zoom or the Facebook Live. Say hello in the chat area so that you can be eligible for prizes. So I'm going to say, George, if you'd like to introduce yourself, and then I'm going to turn it over to Corey and Victoria while I take care of all tech.
Sure. Thank you so much. So, my name is George the Bull Peterson III, and just to give you a little, history of myself, I started off, in my younger years, loving the martial arts. I studied Shotokan karate for many years. I'm a black belt in that discipline. I never wanted to be a bodybuilder in my younger years. I didn't get into bodybuilding until I was about, I would say, 24, 25, because I just joined a gym because Bruce Lee was my inspiration, and researching him, I read that he used weights to eventually get better with his techniques to get stronger. So I started doing the same thing. I joined the gym, I started lifting weights, and I noticed that my body started to change very quickly. And through somebody I met at the gym, I ended up doing my first bodybuilding show, and I placed top 5 in my very first bodybuilding show ever. Since then, I was hooked, and then I continued on, and I won my first overall as a bodybuilder in 2012. And when that happened, I was just on cloud 9. I was like, okay, yes, I think I found something here that I could really get into. But like anything in life, you have your highs and you have your lows. And then since after that, 2013, I had a very low moment. Going to the national level, I didn't do very well, and it discouraged me a great deal. So after 2013, I actually said, you know what, I'm going to retire from bodybuilding. I don't want to do it anymore. And I actually hadn't competed for 3 years straight. I was retired. I was done. But then 2016, when Classic Physique came out, I saw it as an interesting, possible interesting opportunity to come back into it, because I wasn't sure what the division was really looking for. It was just so new. But I looked at it. I was like, let me give this a try. And then I linked up with my coach, who is now Justin Miller, and it's been like a roller coaster ride, kind of straight to the top since I started Classic Physique. I won my first show in Classic Physique. I won the overall there. 2 weeks later, I won the overall at the Nationals. I'm the first Classic Physique national champion, and I'm placed top 3 at the Olympia 3 years in a row. I won the Arnold Classic last year in 2019. So Classic Physique has definitely been a wild ride for me, and it's just that's pretty much my story in a nutshell.
Wow, and you just took out 5 of my questions all in a row. You answered all of them. But so we always like to talk about, I know the fact that I know you do coaching, I know you do posing, I know you do nutrition. So we're just going to put you on the spot for just a second, just to get this going. What are all the little containers behind you? Because we see them all. They're all stacked in a row right there.
What, these?
Yes, are those all nuts? We're always asking about it. Everybody wants to know.
These right here, these are my babies right here. This is my number one go-to fat source to do my diet is raw cashews. I mean, there's many different fat sources that people can do. They can do avocado, peanut butter. Me, it's the raw cashews. Especially for me, like when I diet, I go extreme low carbs. I mean, there's weeks where I go less than 50 grams of carbohydrates a day, and the meals that I have my cashews, it's like what gets me through, because it almost feels like cheating a little bit when you're eating them, because they just taste so good. So they help me get through. So I love these. So I make sure I stay stocked to the gills with these.
So because everybody's going to ask now, how many cashews a day do you think you eat?
Well, I mean, I usually have a quarter cup of cashews. I eat 6 meals a day, so I do quarter cup of cashews for 2 to 3 meals a day.
Yeah, that would feel like cheating. That would feel awesome. So as we get started, of course, everyone wants to know, we always want to ask our pros. So with everything going on with the coronavirus and things changing, how has that affected your shows this year and your competitions coming up for this season?
Well, my original plans was to do the New York Pro, which was originally scheduled in May. So the whole coronavirus and the whole lockdown quarantine, it completely threw it way off. I mean, not so much, I say, in a bad way. I mean, being postponed just means you just have more time now to kind of prepare. So I'm not going to really see it as a bad thing, but it did throw it off a little bit because, I had this one time frame in mind, and now it just got changed into a different time frame. So in doing so, and knowing that, I had to change up my approach where, because the closer you get to a show, there may be certain aspects of your diet that you would change up. So now it's different. So instead of going lower in my carbohydrates now, I'm actually increasing my carbohydrates because I have so much more time now. Because the New York Pro, I believe, has been rescheduled to September. So now I have plenty of time. So now I just increase my carbohydrates a day, minimize my cardio, don't have to do as much cardio now. Now I have a lot more time to actually try to put on more muscle for that event. But for the most part, that's what the coronavirus and lockdown has done. I mean, the biggest game changer it's done was the whole gym shutdowns. And I'm sure that a lot of people were affected by that, because now it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to prepare? I mean, how are we going to, we need weights. We can all stay in shape doing, calisthenics at home and everything like that. But, for someone who's doing bodybuilding to build muscle, you need the weight. So, so fortunately I have a few weights, here at home where I can get a, decent enough home workout in. Of course, the weights aren't as heavy as they would go at the gym, but because of that, there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? So you can, if you don't have as much weight, what I've done is I've changed up my training style where I'm doing more time under tension movements. So really controlling the negatives, and squeezing on the positives to really just squeeze all the muscle fibers possible. And it's been working because I've been feeling just as sore after these, workouts as I would when I was, had all the access to all the weights I needed at the gym.
Yeah, that is tricky because I would especially, it's one thing to be, a bikini competitor, a figure competitor. I mean, you can get away with 15s and 20s, but, as, a pro, it's going to be a lot harder, in a male division to come up with those amount of weights that you need to make happen.
Right.
You referenced something because everybody's going to ask. You referenced not as much cardio and changing up your cardio. What part does cardio actually play in your component of getting ready for a show?
Cardio plays a big role when it comes to preparing for a show, because to get stage ready, or as far as class physique and for bodybuilding, you want that conditioning. You want to get ripped. So you have to ask yourself, okay, well, what does ripped mean? What does ripped mean? So ripped is have a certain amount of muscle on you with as minimum amount of body fat on you. It's those two combination things. Muscle with low body fat equals ripped. So of course the weights is where you get the muscle from. The losing the body fat is where that cardio comes into play. So it plays a major role. I mean, I would say a little bit over 50%, because there'll be days where I would need to do an hour and a half of cardio, sometimes 2 hours of cardio, and splitting it up 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening. But yeah, definitely a big role.
Well, and Stacia is a big proponent of everything with mental conditioning and focusing on the mindset. I have 2 young girls that are currently doing Taekwondo right now. How do you think your background in martial arts has actually played in your favor in terms of bodybuilding career, and what your background has transitioned to really helping you prepare to be one of the best pros, because you are right up there at the very top?
Well, thank you. Martial arts played a tremendous role in how I prepare for bodybuilding, because the one thing that you come away with in martial arts is discipline and focus. And that same discipline and focus that I learned in martial arts, I carried over with me into bodybuilding. So that's why it's not a problem for me to stick to my diet, stick to my training. I could be sitting right in front of a bunch of junk food and not be fazed by it at all. Just have my little, Tupperware with the, chicken breasts and sweet potato, and not be fazed by it, because I have in my mind that goal. I have in my mind that visualization of what I want to look like on stage, and that's what keeps me focused. I mean, it's the same thing when I was, studying martial arts. When my friends wanted to go out and, do something else, like whether it would be play basketball, play football outside, I wanted to stay inside and practice my katas, because I wanted to be just like Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was my, like I said, he was my idol. I wanted to be just like him. He was my visualization. So that same focus I carried off with me to bodybuilding. So that stage look that I have in my mind is what keeps me focused on my diet and not being affected by any of these outside factors that could interfere with that.
Yeah, I think that's great. So talking about that diet for a second, because everybody's going to wonder, what is the ideal cheat meal for you?
All right. Well, the ideal cheat meal for me would be some good old twin burgers with a stack of pancakes, a large stack of pancakes.
And what's on those pancakes? Is there anything on them?
I'm very simple. I just need a lot of butter and some syrup. That's all. I don't need anything else.
You've got people that are watching that are saying, haha, yes, in terms of those pancakes. So we understand, though, that there's a transition coming for you, right?
That is correct. Yes. I'm transitioning from Classic Physique, which I placed top 3 at the Olympia and won the Arnold Classic, and over to the next up division, which is 212-pound bodybuilding.
And why is that happening? Why are we transitioning?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, a lot of people have asked me that, and really, I believe the decision was kind of made for me, especially after the last Olympia that I did, because I really believe that the last Olympia that I did in Classic Physique was, without a doubt, it was my best look to date in Classic Physique. Just best look to date, period, as overall as a competitor. And that's having to make 192 pounds. And me, naturally, that's not the weight I would go down to get ready for a show. I mean, in getting ready for that show, I was stage ready at like 207, 206. So I definitely had to lose about 10 pounds of muscle to make the weight for Classic Physique. But, we got to do what we got to do. We're professionals, so you make the weight. And in doing so, I still was able to bring my best package to date. I mean, I still got third. Now, normally you would say, okay, third at the Olympia, that's that's nothing to look down upon, and it's not. It's still a great achievement, and I'm very happy with it. But as a competitor, you're going through a lot of the prep and the diet with the goal to win. You want to win. When you're a kind of competitor, you want to win, and that was my goal. So now I had to ask myself, well, okay, how come I didn't win? Now the general consensus was I was the best bodybuilder on the Classic Physique stage. So now if that's what it is, then what else could I do to possibly win the Olympia in that division? So basically, it seems like the answer is that it's not really about being the best bodybuilder on Classic Physique. It's more so about a look, and I understand it because after the Olympia, people were telling me I looked good enough to have possibly won the 212, possibly. Now, given that, let's say, and I was told this by people who high up. Now, if that's the case, and let's say they awarded me the Classic Physique Olympia, but I also look like I could have done well in 212, then that blurs the line between the two divisions. That's the reason why we have these divisions, so that you can tell the difference between the two. Like you got Raymond, who won men's physique. He looks perfect for men's physique. He doesn't look like he could possibly win Classic Physique. Now you got Bumstead, who won Classic Physique. He looks good for Classic Physique. He doesn't look like he can win men's open bodybuilding. But if they awarded me Classic Physique Olympia, but I also look like I could have won 212, well, then that can create confusion. So I can understand that. So that was the reason why I decided, okay, you know what? Let me go where not only where I could just, I guess you could say fit in better, but also I could just be the best George possible. So that was how I really came to that decision.
It makes perfect sense. And I think it says a lot about an athlete when an athlete is willing to listen to, you know, what their mentors, their peers are telling them and really make those changes. So this is perfect timing. We are going to give away some swag. So I'm going to turn it over to Victoria.
Thank you, Corey. All this food talk made me really hungry. So we're going to give away some product from a company name is Newzest, and it's a protein or what is that, Corey?
I accidentally muted myself. It is a vegan protein powder. So it is one of the companies that makes a vegan protein powder that doesn't have any additional carbs added into it. So the great thing is that, you know, a lot of the vegan protein powders you look at and it's also got 10 grams of carbs. So this one is just protein and there's 0 artificial sweeteners in it.
Perfect. So this, we will give honor to George to select our very first winner for this vegan protein powder.
So choose a number 1 through 27, George.
Okay, I'll go with 13.
Haha. He makes our 13 tribe. It's Station and I's lucky number. We love
Really?
13.
Yes, I'm a Friday the 13th baby. That's why that's where it started.
Yes, Friday the 13th all day. I'm a Friday the 13th baby all day too.
Love it. We won't say what year. Rosalie Cruz. So one of our Facebook watchers has won.
Yes, she's my friend. I know her.
Awesome. So then, Corey, I'm going to turn it back over to you and George, and I think we're going to drag Joseph on screen again.
Yes, we are going to get ready for some posing is what we're going to do. So as we get Joseph ready for a second, what I'll do is just ask George, you know, as we go through and we're going to work on posing. And so just as we get going on this, what would you say is the number one most important thing? Like if somebody asks about the importance of your posing, why is posing so important?
Oh, well, posing is very important is because it's almost like your graduation walk. You know, it's like when you're in the gym training and you're going through all that hard work, that's you. It's like you in school studying, you know, you stepping on stage and you hitting your poses right. That's like that walk to go get your diploma, you know, and your diploma being your trophy. So posing is very important because you want to display your physique in a very professional way, because you could have a really good physique, but if you don't pose it right, it's not going to show. So your posing is your primary weapon when you're up there on stage. It's the way for you to express yourself as a competitor. We all have different body types, so there's many different ways you can hit a specific pose. So that's the reason why posing is very important.
Awesome. Well, I think we are ready, and if Joseph is ready, then I am going to turn it over to George and Joseph to walk through and tell us exactly what we're going to be doing so that everybody that's watching knows what the two of you are going to be showing them.
Okay, so we're going to go through all the basic poses for classic physique. It's going to be just like a prejudging. Prejudging is the morning part of the show where you're being judged next to everybody else who's on stage with you, and it's going to be like just the regular quarter turns, and and all the mandatory poses that we do in class physique, just so you can see the basics of everything, and and we couldn't have a better poser than Joseph, that's for sure. So I'm ready. You ready, Joseph?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right, so we're gonna start with the front relax pose, Joseph. There you go. So now I want you to notice something. Now, relax for a second, Joseph. Relax. Now, one thing I want you to notice with Joseph is when I told him to hit the front relax, the first place he started was the legs, and that's the most important thing for any pose. You start from the ground up. And the ground up, meaning you start from the legs, and then you go to the upper body. So front relaxed, Joseph. Boom. See, he hits the legs. He's flexing the hips, so you see the cuts all the way to the hips. He has his lats flared, so you can see his shape. Tiny waist. He has his stomach controlled. Excellent. He even you probably can't notice in the video, but he has his toes pointed slightly out, and that's how you can see that sweep in the quads. All right, quarter turn to the right. There, turn to the side. He sets his feet. There you go. Joseph, twist your upper body a little bit more to me. There you go. So now, the reason why I told him to do that is it gives him a broader look, and keeps his stomach tight, and you flex it, and he flexes the obliques there, and it looks great there. Quarter turn to the right. All right. He got his lats flared. He flexed the hamstrings. He flexed the glutes. You keep everything tensed in these, even though these are mandatory relaxed poses. You're not 100% relaxed in these poses. You're still gonna flex your glutes, your hams, flare your lats. So you see Joseph has great back development there. So he looks great here. Quarter turn to the right. Same thing. There you go. Twist a little bit more to me, Joseph. There you go. And one thing about the side relaxed pose is he's using his left arm to squeeze into his left pec, and that's what brings out those lines, those striations in his chest, and that's a great look. All right, so of course, turn to the right. Now we're gonna do front double bicep. All right, see that? Start from the legs. He has legs flexed. Boom. There you go. He has arms up. He's squeezing the biceps. He has his elbows turned out so that you can so that his lats flare. He looks good. All right, side chest. There you go. So he sets up the legs. He has his left leg pushed into his right leg. It's hard for you to tell, from this view, but he has his left leg pushed into his right leg, so his hamstring will pop. There you go. Twist a little bit more to me. There you go. There you go. See, same thing. He's using his right arm to squeeze into his right pec to bring out those striations. Arch up a little bit. There you go. Just a little bit more, Joseph, so you bring your chest out. Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. When it comes to hitting the side chest, me particularly, I like to hit that shot big. There's different ways you could do it. You could hit it up big. This. Some people can hit it with the flexing the obliques. I particularly like to hit it big because there's a famous picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger hitting a side chest, black and white, and that's how he hits it. And his chest just looks massive, and I just love that. All right, so back double bicep. You flex the hamstrings, flex the glutes. Boom. There you go. He's leaned back a little bit so that when you're up on stage, the judges can see you as his elbows turned out. Looks good. Good biceps and everything. All right, abdominal thigh. All right, so flex the legs. And with the abdominal thigh, you make sure you blow out. You blow the air out. So you're out. There you go. Look at that. See, he has a good abdominal wall. Blows all the air out. Legs are flexed. Both legs are flexed too. That's important. You want to flex both legs on this shot for sure. All right, good. And now classic pose of choice. Well, and I see. And the thing about the classic pose of choice is that this is a pose of your choice, and this is a great choice for Joseph because this shows his the shape of his physique. Looks excellent. It's definitely a classic pose, like Frank Zane-ish type pose, and looks great. All right, thanks a lot, Joseph. You're good there. So so appreciate that. I mean, you look great. So yeah, I mean, the thing with that classic pose of choice, like I said, that's a pose completely of your choice. The only rule is that you can't hit the most muscular. The one advice I would say when it comes to choosing what pose to do for your classic pose of choice is to pick a pose that accentuates your physique the best. You don't want to pick a pose just because maybe your favorite bodybuilder has hit that pose. You want to pick a pose to make sure that it accentuates your physique the best. Just like you saw Joseph, he chose to do that one, the victory type pose, and his physique looks great with that. When I in my classic pose of choice, I was hitting like a quarter turn back shot because my back is my strength. So so that's what I recommend for anybody.
Well, this is perfect because I knew we would get questions as soon as you started posing. So I've got a couple of questions here. So first one is, when we started going through the side poses, how important is it to control your abs in the side poses? And I would say for any of the poses, even when you're facing forward, with that midsection control, how important is that, especially when you're working with a competitor and working with their posing on telling them what to do with it?
Right. Oh, it's extremely important, because it's very easy, especially if you've been up there for a little while, to get winded, and then you get winded and you like let your stomach loose. It's not really a good look if you let your stomach relax. So you want to keep your stomach tight on your front poses and on your side poses. On the side poses, I mean, I would recommend like if you can hit a vacuum, I would recommend doing a vacuum on the side poses to make sure that your waist is showing at its smallest. If you can't hit a vacuum, like myself, I don't really hit a vacuum. So, but I keep my stomach super tense when I'm hitting the side chest pose, and like I said, you lift up, you show your rib cage, big rib cage, or you can hit it and flex the obliques. If you have good striated obliques, you can sit on your obliques and show the good striations there. But to answer the question, it's very important to practice good midsection control on all poses. When you're turning from front to side, keep it all controlled. Like I'll show you again. Hey, Joseph, so go to the front, relax for a second there, Joseph.
Just when Joseph thought he was getting a break, right?
There you go. See, now his stomach looks great, right? His stomach looks great. Keep it controlled. There you go. Now, quarter turn to the right. Keep it controlled. There you go. See, still has it flat. Boom. There you go. Yeah. All right, so that's it, Joseph. I just wanted to show that how you keep your stomach relaxed the entire time. So yeah, it's very important all the time.
So Joseph, don't go anywhere because we're going to have another question for you, but we're going to give you a break. We're going to ask George another question real quick. George, how often do you train your core?
I train my core at most twice a week. I believe the core and the abdominals are a muscle like any other muscle, so you want to give them time to to rest. So I mean, there are weeks where I only do core once a week. I don't feel like you need to overkill them. I mean, I've heard because some people say that they like to train abs every day. I'm not an advocate of that. So I would say at most twice a week is when I train core.
Well, and I think a lot of people don't understand that if you have proper form in your lifting, I mean, let's face it, we don't just let our gut hang out and just not control everything that we're doing. So I don't think people understand just how much core is involved in leg lifting or working on your shoulders or your chest, how core just really composes all of those aspects. And I'm sure with all of your martial arts training, there was, all those elements of all the kicks and the punches, you're dramatically using your core, especially any of the noises that you're making in martial arts.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about posing for a second. We already saw that Joseph was pretty winded after it. So would you consider that cardio, or when do you practice your posing? Is it done at the end of your routine? Is it done that you schedule it regularly during the weeks? How does posing fall into training, cardio, the aspects of every part of it?
Well, posing is that's an excellent question. Glad you brought that up. Yes, posing is definitely a form of cardio. One thing that a lot of people may not know is that that posing actually is a way for you to tighten your physique up even more. It can do things for your physique that regular cardio and regular weight training can't. The more you pose and practice your posing, the harder your physique gets. That's why when like Joseph, he starts posing, gets tight, he starts to sweat. That's his physique hardening it up, and that's him burning calories. So it definitely acts as a form of cardio. As far as when I implement my cardio for my prep, I usually implement my cardio right after weight training, the same way I would normally with my regular cardio, because whenever I do my regular cardio, I do it post workout. So same thing with my posing. I do my posing post workout. And an advantage you have by doing that also is because when you're very pumped up from weight training, it makes it even harder to pose. You're so pumped up with blood, so it makes it kind of hard to hit certain shots. So if you practice your posing when you're in that state, it'll make it that much more easy for you to hit your posing and hold your poses when you're not in that state and just like on regular and just on stage. And another time of day I would practice my posing is at the end of day, like right before bed. it would be like an additional cardio session for me. I would just say go in my living room, get in front of the mirror, do a few rounds of posing. By the time I'm done, there's a puddle of sweat on my living room floor that I have to mop up. It helps harden up your physique so much better. So I recommend for, anybody, getting ready for a show and you're a few weeks out from a show, you want to pose.
Yeah, I think from the new competitor, we have a lot of new competitors. We've got a couple of questions coming up from them. I think, and just as a side note, Stacia mentioned we have more females turning in to watch this than we have males right now. So I'm thinking it's all the eye candy. Let's, we can always talk about, for bikini, the eye candy, but, we've got very handsome males on here today. So let's just, the females can all watch that. But I think for the newbies that are looking in, and watching Joseph, seeing him, I mean, he's breathing heavy. We pulled the camera away from him to give him a break. People don't understand just how hard the posing really can be. So I think it's great that you mentioned that. We do have a question coming up about transitions. So Joseph, I'm going to tell you to be ready because we're going to turn the camera back to you. But first, we're going to give something away. So we're going to turn it over to Victoria.
Thank you, Corey. Well, I think Joseph definitely will need something like this, a full gallon of water, and with a little Jug Hugger as a cover. So now our next next giveaway is actually the Jug Hugger that fits perfect the jug. They also have BPA-free jugs with the top that doesn't fall off. And you can put your logo, you can request your logo to be printed on the side, has a little pocket for your cell phone if you're working out at the gym, another pocket. I use it every day. I take it everywhere with me. It keeps your water cold. The jug doesn't sweat when it's full and cold. So it's an amazing addition to anyone who wants to stay on track with the water. And this beautiful prize is going to...
You get to pick from 1 through 34.
All right. I'll go with 26.
Trevor Lewis. So Trevor, make sure you send me your contact information. And Trevor is on Facebook. So I will make sure I get his information for you.
And I'm actually running a watch party straight from my Facebook. And in addition to this, I have between 17 to 21 listeners tuning in as well.
Awesome.
Corey, back to you.
Awesome. Okay, so next question that we're going to talk about is discussing the transitions from pose to pose in relation to relaxing too much. So kind of going through, what is that right timing? I mean, because I think sometimes people think that's their time to rest between transitions. I'm sure you're going to tell everybody just how important those transitions are, but just kind of walking through what you should be focusing on your transitions, how important they are, if you should be resting, if you shouldn't be resting. And if George and Joseph, you could both take it away.
Well, I would say you want to rest at no time when you're up on stage, because the judges, they have their eyes on you the entire time. So that even includes when you're like off to the side. Let's say you're not in a specific call out and you're just waiting off to the side for your turn and whatnot. You can be semi-relaxed at that point, but not completely relaxed where you're just standing there. You want to be there and tight, looking professional. But as far as transition from pose to pose, I mean, you definitely don't want to just relax when you go from a front of a bicep to a side chest. You want to have you want to transition from pose to pose in an artistic way where it just all flows together. It looks like it's just two pieces of a puzzle coming together. So we can give you a demonstration. So Joseph, I want you to hit a front of a bicep. Start. So you go from the legs and up, boom, good. All right, so now the judges say side chest. Boom. He turns to side, stomach's still tight. He sets up his legs, and you see all that movement with his arms and everything. It's the transition. He's not just putting his arms down and just, kind of just casually going to the next pose. It's all a transition. All right, now back double bicep. Boom. See how the fluid way, how fluid he turns, and every movement that he does means something. Boom. There you go. All right, abdominal thigh. You see how you still see his abs even before he hits the pose? That's because he has his midsection tensed even then. Boom. As his legs flex both legs. There you go. There you go. All right, now classic pose of choice. You see, he's not relaxing at all at any point. And and this is what the judges look at, and this is what can help you do very well in shows. Excellent. You can relax, Joseph. Thank you, brother. So yeah, so you see how he didn't relax at all in any of those transitions. Every movement he did had a purpose. Because it definitely doesn't look professional if you're, let's say you're hitting the front of the bicep and then you don't want that. You don't want that. You want to, like I said, you want to have fluidity in your movement so it all flows together like a puzzle.
So a question that we're getting is in terms of, we've mentioned before that you work with athletes on coaching and posing and nutrition. Which athletes do you work with? Like all divisions? Do you just do classic physique? Do you do bodybuilding?
Well, all right. Well, with my coaching, with my online coaching, I've been more so helping out with just getting people in shape. As far as like the athletes, I mean, I just, if an athlete messages me and has a question, I'll just help them. I haven't really full on helped any athlete per se as of yet, because I just haven't had to really, because in order to help out like an athlete, someone who really wants to do well in a show, you have to really be able to give a lot of time to that person, and my schedule has been so hectic that I haven't really been able to devote that kind of time. So I'll just answer a question from a competitor here and there. I mean, just different random competitors. But as far as my online coaching, I've been just been mostly helping out, regular people who just want to lose some body fat, for this time frame and that time frame, because that one a little less time consuming than someone who's getting ready for a show. Because when you're getting ready for a show, I mean, it has to be really like on point. You gotta be able to check on a person like hour after hour, and stuff like that. It gets to that point,
So note to anyone watching, if you want to find a coach and you've got fitness goals and you like cashews, make sure you hit up George.
If anybody wants to hit me up for online coaching, to better their physique, just get better in general, you can email me at thebulllc@gmail.com. Awesome.
Okay, so we got a couple questions we're going to fire at you. There's a bunch of questions that are coming in terms of, everybody that's watching. From a very new competitor, so just getting started, how important is it to exercise before going on stage? I think it's referring to the pump-up question. We've kind of talked about this a little bit with kind of bikini and figure athletes. But I would say for classic physique and men's physique and bodybuilding, yes, no?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, the pump-up is definitely important. You want to get the blood flowing and wake the body up. I mean, you don't need to really do much, for a pump-up. You'll usually have resistance bands backstage, or people bring their own resistance bands, and you just get some blood in the biceps, get some blood in the shoulders, get some blood in the chest. You don't have to do much, because at that point the work is already done. You're not going to be adding any muscle at that point, so it's just to wake the body up, so that when you step out on stage, everything is popping per se. And you don't want to, and I say you don't want to overly pump up either when you're backstage. You don't want to be like so full of blood that you can't really hit your shots the way you want to. So just a nice good little pump up to make sure you can feel your muscles, and that's good enough.
Okay, so another question that we've got is, how do you approach the days when you just don't feel like it? You just don't feel like training. You just don't feel like doing your diet. How do you approach those days?
I mean, with those days, and we all have them for sure, you have to remind yourself why you're doing it. You have to sit down and then just ask yourself, okay, why am I doing this? Because nobody's making you diet. Nobody's making you get ready for the show. This is a choice that you made. So, and when you decided to get ready for the show, clearly you had a goal in mind. So you just think back to that goal, and you have to also just, be realistic with yourself and just realize that no matter what you do, there's always going to be moments where you got to do stuff that you may not want to do. I mean, even the most successful people in the world have days where they have to do things they don't want to do, but they do them, and that's the reason why they're successful. You know, I mean, we can go down the list. I mean, you know, The Rock, you know, Vince McMahon, Bill Gates, anybody you can think of that's, you know, that's very super successful. You think their whole day consists of the things that they want to do? Absolutely not. There's a bunch of things that they have to do that they don't want to do, but they do them, and that's the reason why they're successful. So if you want to be successful, then you have to go. I mean, you just have to do it. There's no other way. You just got to do it. And when a lot of times when you feel that way, when you say, "Oh, God, I really don't feel like going to the gym," it's the hardest part is really just getting started. Like, you know, once you get in there, start picking up the weight, just get started, get warmed up, and you get in your flow, you'll be good to go from that point. I mean, I mean, I can say that from personal experience. I mean, I have plenty of days, especially when I'm very depleted, that I'm like, I really don't want to have to go into the gym today. I don't want to have to lift this weight. But once I get started, it's almost like a machine, you know, then you're going. So I say just get over that hump of getting started and just go with it.
So on that note, I mean, I remember when I got to compete on the Arnold stage, and it was just the most incredible feeling ever. It was so surreal. So tell us just, how did it feel to compete on the Arnold stage, to compete on the Olympia stage? Because obviously, you know, you're competing with people that have come before your time. You're getting to step into the glory of everything that is our sport. So just, I mean, what is it like?
It's surreal. I mean, like, words just can't even describe it, especially when you're walking into the venue. You see that big red Olympia logo on the stage. Like, the first thing, you know, that pops into your head is, wow, like, am I really here? Wow, like, I can't believe this. Like, I still remember, like, back in 2006, when I didn't know anything about the the Olympia or anything, but I was just YouTubing different IFBB pros, and I came across like Flex Wheeler footage and Lee Priest and Sean Ray footage, and seeing them compete on the Olympia stage, and then years later, for me to be walking into that stage myself, it's like wow, like, I can't even believe this. And the same thing with the Arnold. Like, when you walk into the venue, you see that big Arnold statue. It's just so surreal. And what it makes you realize is that hard work truly does pay off. And that actually goes back into the last question, as far as, like, when you don't feel like going into the gym, like, how do you get through that? Think about those type of moments. I mean, for you to continue on and just and do what you have to do can lead to those moments where you're walking into the Olympia stage, you're competing on the Olympia stage, you're competing on the Arnold stage, and then all those days that you didn't feel like training, but you did, was worth it.
Well, and this question, we're going to call out Tony Roberts, so George knows exactly who it's coming from. How does it feel to train at the Mecca with Steve and the rest of the IFBB pros? So right along the line of, being at the Arnold and the Olympia, how does that feel to surround yourself with people that just get it and they understand?
It's great. I mean, it actually makes you better, because you have a whole bunch of people who have, like, the same type of goals that you do, and what's great about it is everybody's pushing each other. We're all building each other up. You hear so many stories, and just different areas in life where people try to break each other down, and it's like a dog eat dog type of world and stuff like that. But it's just not like that at the East Coast Mecca. We're all there helping each other, pushing each other, spotting each other, motivating each other, and we're all making each other better. So it's just the best feeling in the world. Like this, you couldn't ask for a better environment to be in this sport, than the East Coast Mecca.
Well, and I think that's something Stacia and I've always talked about when we started So You Want to Compete, and we had people get together for the seminars that we would do, and I would say tell them, look around the room, because what you may see is all of the competitors that are compete against you. You also see the people that understand you the most on this planet, because they get the dieting, they get the training, they get, no, I can't just have one glass of wine, because when people say that. So, it's one of those things. And I think there's just, you can either look at it backstage. And I think this is probably one of the things that we promote very, very highly with a lot of the shows that we do with our new competitors, is that be nice to people backstage, get along with these people, because they understand you. And that, I used to say, we had Mike Davies on here a couple weeks ago, and, you know, we would go, and one of the things that we would always say on all of us that were working with Mike is the best goal would be, and we were in all different height categories for figure, but I said, the number one goal here is if we're all standing on that stage together, fighting for that overall, because we're all there together. And so I think it's just really neat to see the camaraderie from competitors. If we can come together, it's just, it really changes things. So we're going to do a giveaway, and then don't go anywhere because we got a couple more questions. And I think you're really going to get a kick out of some of these questions. So let's give something away.
Okay.
All right. So the number 3 giveaway today is my fitness, my life fitness apparel and gym gear sponsor. And I think today we're doing something, we're giving away a couple things. One of them is a pull and push, basically like our friends at the gym, they pull us to the gym and then they push us through the workout. So who will be the lucky winner this time?
I like how you did that. All right, so you have 1 through 30 to select.
3.
3. 1, 2, 3. Robin Hartman.
There you go.
Yay.
Hey.
Congratulations.
Hey.
Robin's Women's Physique. Yes, I think Robin's Women's Physique. I'll have to double check with her. But yes, so that was it. This is the, I have to say, So You Want to Compete is and being the Backstage Network and everything that Corey was talking about. That's how we found Victoria. That's how we found Tony. That's how we found, you know, we run into all the pros backstage. It's such a tight community, and you're in such a unique community. So I just wanted to add that too for the new competitors.
Well, and I think it's true. I think everybody, you know, the thing that I see the most on Facebook recently is the fact that everybody misses their NPC family. Like, it's really a family. It's where you feel like you belong and you just want to be there. Okay, so George, here comes these questions.
Okay.
So how do you get striated glutes?
All right, well, okay, well, striated glutes, I mean, the way you get striated glutes is, I mean, really like it's going to sound like a very generic answer, but it's just dieting hard. You just have to keep going. You have to get for yourself ample enough time to really get rid of enough body fat where your glutes really start to get striated like that. It's just a matter of time and hard dieting over a lengthy amount of time. Some people may just need 12 weeks to get to that point. Some people may need a little longer. Some people may need 14 or 16 weeks. It's just suffering. Like I said, when I diet, to get my striated glutes, I go weeks with less than 50 grams of carbohydrates a day. That's hardly anything. So if you want to get to that level, because when you have striated glutes, I mean, you really don't get no more ripped than that. So if you're able to get to that level, that means you truly suffered. You just have to put yourself through that type of suffering, and those glutes, they'll come through. As far as glute movements, I definitely recommend like hip thrusts, kickbacks. I mean, the more, because the glutes is a muscle just in itself, so the more developed you have them, the more they're gonna really come through when you get them really ripped. So I would recommend doing movements like that, like hip thrusts, kickbacks to get them going. But the hard dieting is what's gonna get those lines in the glutes. Hard dieting.
Awesome. Okay, next question. It's a two-parter. Do you eat fish in your diet? And if you do, how do you make it taste decent?
Well, yes, I do eat fish in my diet. I mean, there was actually a couple of weeks where I'm just only having fish all day. My fish of choice is tilapia because it's a very lean fish. And what do? I'm a simple type of guy. I mean, I'll give you some recommendations. Myself personally, I'm very simple. All I do is just a little bit of salt, and I'm good to go. But if you want to make your food a little bit more tasty and still keep it healthy, there are options out there for you. You can use, I believe they have a seasoning called Flavor God. They also have a seasoning called Mrs. Dash, and these seasonings don't have anything in them. But they just allow the food to taste better for you. So you can look into those if you're looking for new things to season up the fish with. But me personally, I just do a little bit of salt, and I'm good to go. And something it's an interesting thing is because you're dieting really hard when almost anything tastes good, right? Because that's the reason why I only have to use a little bit of salt, and the fish still tastes very good to me. I don't know if anybody has ever had their parents tell them, you'll ask your parents, "Oh, mommy, what's for dinner?" And then they'll say, "Oh, we're gonna have meatloaf." And then you say, "Oh, I don't want no meatloaf." And then the parent says, "Well, then that means you're not really hungry. Then if you're gonna be that picky." But like this, it's very true, because when you're hungry and you're dieting, you'll almost eat anything, So almost anything will taste good. And that's what I experience when I go through my diet preps. That's why all I need is just a little bit of salt, and the food just tastes great to me. But like I said, if anybody needs a suggestion, you got Flavor God out there, and you could also try Mrs. Dash for seasoning choices.
Well, and you'll get a kick out of this too, because that's how we actually, with our kids, when they're saying they want something to eat, what I always tell them, I'm like, okay, if you are hungry, then you can have a handful of raw cashews. And they look at me and go, nah. And I'm like, okay, then you're not really hungry.
Exactly.
What is your favorite meal of the day?
Favorite meal of the day for me is, I would say, flank steak, my flank steak meal. It's like red meat meal, flank steak, medium rare. That's my favorite meal of the day, every day.
Coffee, no coffee, pre-workouts, no pre-workouts?
Definitely pre-workouts. My pre-workout is Total War, Redcon 1. I have that for every single workout, especially my leg days. I need them. It gets me going. And I do start my day off with a cup of coffee every single day. Black, no sugar, just straight. I mean, it took me, now I'm very used to it, but it took me a while to get used to straight black coffee, because before I used to I couldn't have coffee without any cream or anything like that. But that was years ago. But I've gotten to the point where now I can only do black coffee. Even when I'm not dieting, I still only do black coffee because I'm just so used to it.
Just without going into specifics, the question is, what is your training like in a given week? What does your training look like? Like Monday legs, Tuesday, like what does your training look like?
Sure. So Monday would be typical chest day, right? And then Tuesday would be back, Wednesday hamstrings, Thursday shoulders, Friday arms, Saturday quads, and Sunday I would usually rest.
So another question as a follow-up of that, I know because some of the newbies will ask, I think there's some that have heard, they do legs on one day. I know a lot of competitors we've talked to will break it up into quads and hamstrings. If you could just explain to them why are you, a lot of the pros, I think specifically from the females to the males that we've talked about, will break up glutes or quads or hamstrings. Why that versus just a leg day?
I believe that's, anybody who chooses to split it up like that, hams and glutes on one day and quads on a different day, I believe it's effective when you want to give each of those groups their own attention, so you can bring them up the way you want. Because when you have just a set leg day where you're doing all of that on one day, it's going to get so, because legs is like the hardest day of the week for anybody. I mean, it should be, at least. And it's going to get to a point where you're going to end up not giving one of those body parts the attention it needs, because you're just going to be so drained by the time you get to that point. So let's say you've killed your quads with so many sets of squats, leg press, leg extensions, and now you're just drained. You're so fatigued. So you're going to give not as much attention or to your hamstrings and to the glutes and whatnot. So so your quads may end up developing a little bit more than your hams and glutes. But if you split it up like that, you have a day specifically for your hams and glutes. Now your hams and glutes are going to get like maximum attention, and you have a separate day where you give your quads maximum attention. So they get equal amount of attention and development.
So with that, what is your favorite and least body parts to work?
My favorite, I'll start with my least favorite. My least favorite, I would say, is shoulders, because for some reason I just don't get excited for shoulders. For some reason, I don't know why. It's just like one of those days where, like, all right, let me just do this, but I just don't get hyped for shoulders. And I would say my favorite body part is legs. I love training legs. It's such a weird thing, because, like I just said, legs is the hardest part of the week for anybody, and it's gonna hurt so bad. But it's just that. It's the fact that it's going to hurt so bad. It just gives you that rush, and it makes me just look forward to it, you know, because it's like, it's one of those days where when you walk out of the gym knowing you just had a great leg session, you feel so accomplished, you know.
So we have got 2 more questions for you. This one is, if you could go back in time to give yourself a game-changing tip, what would it be?
That's a really good question. I would have said, if I go back in time, give myself a game-changing tip, I would have went back to myself in 2012. I would have stayed a light heavyweight bodybuilder, and I would have told myself to find Justin Miller and let's work together. I would have said stay as a light heavyweight bodybuilder back in 2012. I think I like the reason why I ended up not being as successful as a bodybuilder back in the day is because I tried to go up to heavyweights too quick, and I still had a lot more time and room to grow as a light heavyweight, because that's when I won my first overall, was as a light heavyweight bodybuilder, and I still had a lot. I could have done a lot better doing that. So I would have told myself to stay as a light heavyweight bodybuilder.
And then last question is, of course, everyone wants to know, how did you get your nickname?
All right. Well, I got my nickname. It has nothing to do with bodybuilding. I got my nickname from playing basketball back in the day, because back in the day when I used to play basketball with my boys, I was kind of like the bully on the court. Like I was like the rebounder, so I would always bully my way through the court and get the rebounds, grabbing them. And one day somebody just said, "You're like a bull. You're like a bull. You just, you know." And then that's kind of how I got that nickname. Let's just call him the Bull. So I'm like, all right. So I just kept that name I just kept it, you know, and I even used it when I started bodybuilding. So that's how I got that nickname from playing basketball.
That's awesome. And just as we finish this off, because we do have lots of new competitors starting off in the sport, what would you say to them?
I would say, you know, take your time. Take your time to learn your body, and remember that the sport is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's about time, and it's about giving yourself the time to progress. Each time you get ready for a show, it's a building block, you know, and the goal is to keep progressing, just keep climbing the ladder. We're in a generation now where, like, you know, a lot of people want instant success, instant gratification, you know, but in reality, things don't always work out like that. So just use the time to do your research, learn your body, and enjoy the process, you know, because this whole journey, right now you're on a journey. You're starting a journey as a new competitor. It's a new chapter in your life. So you want to enjoy every step of the way, you know, so let's say 10 years down the line, you'll be able to look back and you can say you don't have any regrets. You know, you enjoyed each and every moment of your competitive journey, you know? So I would just say, just do that. Enjoy it and take your time.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Victoria. I think we've got another giveaway. I'm going to turn it to Stacia, who's going to let us know what's coming up in the next coming weeks. So thank you so much for being our guest. We really appreciated having you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Corey. A little quick testimony about George. I met George almost 3 years ago at Arnold, and I was a new competitor, and I don't think I've ever seen that many fit people in one group. Everybody was very intimidating, and I didn't even believe that people can look like that lean, because I've never been to a pro show. But just from the first day and first time meeting George, he's very humble and very easygoing, very simple, and we connected just as friends really fast. I call him my little brother, by the way. And since that day, we've always kept in touch, and he will always answer any questions. And honestly, when I saw him on stage and I saw his routine, his individual routine, I don't think I've ever seen anything so beautiful. And now I understand why, because of his background in martial arts and that's the ability to focus and concentrate and transition. Because if you are a fan of Bruce Lee, like myself, I grew up watching the movie, you know, you can recognize those transitions and those movements. So I really appreciate, George, that we were able to even get you on a webinar, because my dream was to bring George for one of our posing seminars or as a guest poser. And this is really a dream come true, and really grateful, really appreciate. And as we talked about the very last giveaway, the special one, little cherry on top of a cake with a whipped cream, that's going to be a gift from George for the best question of today.
Yeah. So I'm basically gonna be giving away, my Redcon One stack, the supplements that I take typically every day to the person who's asked me the best question. I think I'm gonna give that to the person who asked me, well, what would be the game changer advice that I would tell myself, in the past. I like that question.
I was going to say, I knew which one you were going to choose, and that goes to Michelle Polk, who's one of our competitors over on Facebook Live. So congratulations, Michelle. Thank you, George. That was
no problem. So you could, I guess, however you just, if you find her information, I can have it sent,
Yep, we will do that. Then we'll make sure Victoria will have that all done. Thank you so much. It's always nice finding another martial artist in the bodybuilding community. We have that in common. Again, before we got on here today, our son is named Brandon after Brandon Lee. Very
That's
big
awesome.
Lee and very big.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
We are going to do next week. We are going to have a special edition with Becky Clausen and Sandy Williamson doing women's posing for 2 hours, ladies. 2 hours. We're going to go through all of them. So it's a special edition. Come join us. First hour is going to be women's physique, women's bodybuilding, and figure. Second hour is going to be wellness and bikini. So you can tune in whichever way you want to go with it. And I think we have 7 pros joining us, Victoria. 7. So, and the following week is going to be Train the Trainers with Gary Udit again. Then the 23rd, we are doing What the Judges Are Looking For with Gary and Sandy. And then upcoming past that, we're looking to get Tyler Mannion on. We're going to talk to some of the NPC promoters. So we're doing this as long as we can and enjoy it and have fun with it. This is why we do these things. So go ahead.
Sorry, Stacia. Sorry. I just want to let everybody know, since it's a special edition for Mother's Day, we have packages, not just one gift, but we have packages of 3 to 5 sponsors in one package, a giveaway for each division. So it's a special Mother's Day edition. If you know someone who needs to see a live posing and get an amazing gift, please invite them.
And we will be doing it Facebook Live and on YouTube. Again, you guys can watch this again later on Facebook Live as a repeat. I'm going to be posting it to YouTube along with George's contact information, all our sponsors' contact information as well. So make sure you share. And thank you guys again so much for joining us. And we will see you again next weekend, 12 p.m. Eastern on Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank
you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.